Hello, my dear. Today I want to talk to you about something so many women feel deep in their hearts, but rarely put into words. When a woman is chosen not by the world's standards, not by comparison, not by competition, but chosen by life itself for a deeper path, she often finds herself walking alone. Have you felt that? That sense of being different, that sense of not quite fitting in, that quiet whisper inside that says, there must be more for me than this. I was born for something greater. Oh yes, my dear, I know you have. When a woman is chosen, her life begins to take a shape that looks unlike those around her. Let's name some of the signs, because perhaps you've wondered why you feel the way you do. A chosen woman often feels misunderstood by others. People may not see her depth, may not understand her choices, may even criticize her path. Drawn into seasons of solitude, she finds herself alone, not because she is unlovable, but because life is preparing her in silence, carrying a deep restlessness. Something in her soul knows, I cannot settle here. I was meant to fly higher. Invited into breaking, old structures fall apart, old relationships dissolve, old patterns stop working. And it hurts, but it's holy. Filled with a strange hope, even in her darkest nights, she senses light ahead, as if life itself is whispering, keep going, beloved. There's purpose in this. And let me reassure you, my dear, a woman who walks alone is not abandoned. She is being set apart. She is not being punished. She is being prepared. Isn't that wonderful to realize? That the very loneliness you feel may be evidence that you are in the cocoon of transformation. Think of the caterpillar. When it enters the cocoon, everything dissolves. The old form breaks down completely. To an outsider, it looks like nothing is happening. Silence, stillness. But inside, a miracle is unfolding. Cells are rearranging, wings are forming, a whole new life is being born. This is the sacred metaphor of your journey. Your silence is not empty, it is sacred. Your solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. Your breaking is not the end, it is the beginning. Let's be honest, transformation is not glamorous, it is not easy. It rarely looks the way we think it should. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like being stripped of everything familiar. But beneath the surface, life is doing something profound. It is decoding you. It is rewriting your identity. It is preparing you to emerge, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. And my dear, this is why many women who are chosen walk alone. Not because they are superior, not because they are untouchable, but because they are being refined, because solitude sharpens their vision, because silence tunes their ear to the voice within, because emptiness makes room for fullness. I want you to think for a moment. What if your loneliness is not evidence of lack, but evidence of calling? What if your isolation is the chrysalis, the cocoon, the holy space where wings are forming? Would you see it differently? Would you stop judging yourself for being alone and start honoring the sacredness of your path? So today, I want to bless your solitude. I want to bless your silence. I want to bless your breaking, because inside the cocoon, the caterpillar does not yet know about the wings. But the wings are coming. Inside your soul, you may not yet see the fullness of who you are becoming, but it is coming. You are chosen. You are being prepared. You are being shaped into someone who can carry light, who can carry love, who can carry wisdom into the world. And one day, when you look back, you will see that the seasons you walked alone were the very seasons that gave you wings. I remember a season when she could not explain to anyone why she felt so restless. On the surface, her life looked fine. She had roles, responsibilities, relationships. But deep inside her soul, she felt an irresistible pull, a gravity towards something larger, deeper, more sacred. While others seemed content with recognition, she found herself longing for meaning. While friends were chasing applause, she was chasing truth. While the world said, fit in, settle down, be grateful, her inner voice whispered, I cannot betray myself to belong. And that whisper, my dear, was louder than any noise outside. That whisper was her compass. That whisper was her call. Isn't it extraordinary how the soul speaks when everything else is silent? She felt a magnetic draw that she could not explain. It was not ambition, it was alignment. It was not hunger for more things, it was hunger for more depth. It was not about being better than anyone, it was about being true to herself. She knew she was made for more, not because she was superior, but because her spirit would not let her rest, and she could not quiet it. She could not run from it. She could not drown it in distractions, because when the soul calls, you cannot unhear it. And oh, how lonely that call can feel when no one else around you seems to understand. She watched others find satisfaction in belonging, but she knew the cost of betraying her intuition would be too high. So she chose honesty over approval. She chose meaning over recognition. She chose the voice within over the noise outside. And that choice, my dear, is what sets apart a woman who is chosen. Now let's talk about sacred isolation, because this is where so many women misunderstand their journey. She began to notice people drifting away. She began to notice old friendships fading, old roles dissolving, old places no longer fitting. She felt the ache of loneliness and wondered, am I being rejected? Am I being abandoned? But the truth was gentler, holier, deeper. She was not being rejected, she was being refined. She was not being abandoned, she was being set apart. She was not being punished, she was being prepared. Isn't that a freeing thought? Her loneliness was not evidence that she was unlovable. It was evidence that she was being called into something sacred. Think of the tide. Before the great wave rises, the waters first pull back. To the casual eye, it looks like emptiness, like retreat, like loss. But to those who understand, the receding is not the end. It is the signal that something powerful is about to arrive. And so it was with her. The retreat of people, the silence of answers, the emptiness of familiar comforts, they were not endings, they were signals. They were preparation for a wave of purpose about to crash into her life. Isn't that powerful? So she learned to see her solitude differently. She began to understand that isolation is not always rejection. It is sometimes protection. It is sometimes gestation. It is sometimes incubation. In the cocoon, the caterpillar dissolves into something unrecognizable. But inside, the silence wings are forming. And she realized her silence was not empty, it was holy. Her solitude was not punishment, it was sacred. Her separation was not cruelty, it was calling. She whispered to herself when the nights grew long, I trust the silence, I trust the space, I trust the separation. And each time she said it, she felt a little lighter. Each time she said it, she felt a little freer. Each time she said it, she felt a little stronger. That became her prayer. That became her promise. That became her power. Let me ask you, my dear, what if the emptiness you feel right now is not a void, but a vessel? What if the hollow space in your heart is not evidence of failure, but evidence of future? What if the very loneliness you resist is the soil where your wings are growing? Wouldn't that change the way you see your journey? Wouldn't that soften the way you hold yourself? Wouldn't that help you breathe again? She began to see her path not as a punishment, but as preparation. Not as rejection, but as redirection. Not as abandonment, but as alignment. And in that reframing, she found peace. She understood that the stripping away was not cruelty, it was clarity. She understood that the silence was not absence, it was instruction. She understood that the loneliness was not void, it was invitation. So when you feel alone, remember her story. Remember that she was not walking in emptiness, she was walking in preparation. Remember that she was not separated to be diminished, she was separated to be strengthened. Remember that her solitude was the space where she was refined, remade, reborn. And you too can whisper what she whispered. I trust the silence, I trust the space, I trust the separation. Because in that trust, you will find your wings. In that trust, you will discover your strength. In that trust, you will come home to the truth. You are not alone. You are chosen. Have you ever wondered, my dear, why certain doors in your life closed so suddenly? Why opportunities that seemed so promising dissolved before your eyes? Why relationships that once felt secure unraveled? Or why plans you trusted in collapsed like sandcastles against the tide? At the time, it may have felt like rejection. It may have felt like failure. It may have felt like punishment. But what if those closed doors were not the end of your story? What if they were sacred redirections, divine protections, holy interruptions that saved you from almost when life was preparing you for greatness? She knows this truth well. She has felt the sting of endings. She has cried over the loss of opportunities that seemed so perfect, so aligned, so right. She has held the grief of relationships she thought would last forever, but instead slipped away. She has stared at the ruins of plans she poured her energy into, only to watch them collapse. And in the moment, her heart whispered, "Why? Why me? Why now? Why this?" But over time, with tender reflection, she discovered something beautiful. Those doors did not close to punish her. They closed to protect her. They closed to redirect her. They closed to make space for something truer, deeper, higher. Isn't it extraordinary how hindsight reveals the wisdom of endings? She looked back and realized that if those opportunities had worked out, she would have settled for less. If those relationships had continued, she would have betrayed her own soul to belong. If those plans had succeeded, she would have lived small when she was meant to expand. What felt like rejection was protection. What looked like failure was redirection. What appeared to be loss was preparation. Think of it this way. When God closes a door, He is not slamming it in anger. He is not rejecting you. He is not abandoning you. He is guiding you. He is protecting you. He is whispering, "Not this way, my dear. Not this person. Not this path. Trust me, I have better." Oh, yes, yes, yes. Isn't that a comforting thought? To know that the very doors you mourn may be the doors that saved you. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine you are walking home, but you do not know the way. You see an open gate, and you step inside, believing it leads to safety. But in truth, it leads to danger. And so, in His love, God shuts the gate before you enter too deeply. You may cry, you may pound your fists, you may scream, "Why did you close this?" But in time, you see that the closed gate saved your life. God does not close doors to punish. He closes them to lead you home. So let's ask a reflective question together. What if the job you lost, the relationship that ended, the plan that fell apart, were never meant to harm you, but to protect you from something that could not carry your greatness? Wouldn't that change the way you see your story? Wouldn't that soften your heart toward yourself? Wouldn't that allow you to breathe in peace instead of bitterness? She began to see that every ending carried a hidden gift. The opportunity that vanished created space for a truer one. The relationship that ended opened her heart for deeper love. The plan that collapsed pushed her into a path more aligned with her soul. At first, it looked like devastation, but in time, it became deliverance. And that is the paradox of protection. It often disguises itself as loss, but it is always love. My dear, I know it hurts when doors close. I know it feels like something precious is being taken from you. I know it feels like your prayers went unanswered, but I promise you this, not one door has ever closed in your life without purpose. Not one ending has been wasted. Not one redirection has been accidental. Life loves you too much to let you stay where you do not belong. Let me invite you into a new practice. The next time something falls apart, before you label it as failure, pause. Place your hand on your heart and whisper, "I don't see it yet, but this ending is protection. I don't understand it yet, but this door is redirection. I don't feel it yet, but this collapse is preparation." And then breathe, and then trust, and then release, because the closed door is not against you, it is for you. Think of her story. She once begged for a relationship to stay. She cried for a job she thought she needed. She fought for a plan that seemed perfect, and each one slipped away. At the time, she thought she was being punished. But now, she can see. Those very endings made her. They carved her into a woman of strength. They shaped her into a woman of depth. They freed her to become the woman she was always meant to be. Isn't that remarkable? So today, let's bless the closed doors. Let's bless the endings. Let's bless the disappointments. Let's bless the broken plans. Because each one, though painful, is a piece of the puzzle. Each one is a turning point in the story. Each one is a step on the sacred path home. And when you feel the ache of rejection, remember her words. She was not rejected. She was protected. She was not diminished. She was redirected. She was not abandoned. She was prepared. And so are you, always. So the next time you stand before a door that refuses to open, whisper this truth. I am not being punished. I am being protected. I am not being rejected. I am being redirected. I am not being diminished. I am being prepared. And with that, step forward into trust. Step forward into faith. Step forward into the unseen future that is already holding you with love. Because, my dear, the doors that close are never the end. They are the beginning of your becoming. She began to see with new eyes, my dear, slowly, gently, painfully, beautifully. She started to realize how much of life had been built on illusion, the illusion of safety in habits, the illusion of belonging in shallow connections, the illusion of worth in roles and expectations that were never truly hers. And when she began to peel those illusions away, something inside of her both trembled and rejoiced. Trembled because letting go of what feels familiar is never easy. Rejoiced because beneath the illusions, she finally touched something real. For so long she had played the roles others gave her, the good daughter, the loyal friend, the pleasing partner, the hard-working woman who never questioned, never resisted, never disappointed. But every time she bent herself into those roles, she felt a little more invisible, a little more hollow, a little more numb. And then came the moment, sometimes sudden, sometimes gradual, when she could not do it anymore. She could not smile when her heart was breaking. She could not say yes when her soul screamed no. She could not live on the surface while something deep within her was crying out for depth. And so she stopped. She stopped performing. She stopped pleasing. She stopped betraying herself. And oh, how uncomfortable that was for those around her. People had become used to the version of her that existed for their convenience. The version that always agreed, always adapted, always disappeared into what they needed. So when she stopped playing the game, they felt unsettled. They accused her of changing. They accused her of being difficult. They accused her of being selfish. But she knew in her heart she was not changing into something worse. She was awakening into something truer. Isn't that extraordinary? She saw through the illusion of comfort. Comfort had once meant keeping quiet, keeping still, keeping small. But now she understood. Comfort without authenticity is not peace, it is paralysis. Comfort without truth is not safety, it is suffocation. Comfort without alignment is not life, it is a slow death. So she chose discomfort. She chose uncertainty. She chose to risk being misunderstood in order to be real. She also saw through the illusion of connection. For years, she mistook busyness for belonging. She surrounded herself with people who fill the hours, but not her soul. Conversations that skimmed the surface, friendships built on obligation, gatherings that left her lonelier than before. And then she understood, connection without depth is not intimacy, it is emptiness. Connection without truth is not love, it is performance. Connection without soul is not belonging, it is conformity. And so she released what was shallow, she let go of what was hollow, she chose to stand alone rather than shrink, to stay connected. And perhaps most powerfully, she saw through the illusion of approval. She had once lived for it. Every compliment, every nod, every sign of validation felt like oxygen. She worked for it, dressed for it, bent for it, prayed for it. But now she understood, approval from others can never replace acceptance of self. Approval is fleeting, fragile, conditional. True peace only comes when you approve of yourself. Isn't that the deepest freedom? To no longer need the applause because you have learned to hear your own heart's yes. Let me ask you, softly, directly, what illusions have you outgrown? What masks have you set down, even if they once made you feel safe? What illusions have you walked through, even when it terrified you? Because I know, my dear, that you have. Every woman who chooses truth over performance has broken through illusion. Every woman who chooses solitude over shallow belonging has broken through illusion. Every woman who chooses her own voice over the chorus of others has broken through illusion. And that breaking, though painful, is liberation. Think of it this way. Illusions are like painted walls in a play. They look solid, but when you press against them, they fall flat. They were never real to begin with. The moment you dare to question, the moment you dare to press, the illusion crumbles, and behind it, you find not emptiness, but space. Space for truth, space for depth, space for the life you were always meant to live. And so she learned to bless her illusions, even as she released them, because each illusion she lived through taught her something. Comfort taught her that peace without truth is false. Connection taught her that not all togetherness is love. Approval taught her that the world's applause is too small a thing to build a life upon. Each illusion stripped away became an initiation into freedom. Each one prepared her for the real. Each one delivered her back to herself. My dear, I want you to hear this clearly. There is no shame in once believing the illusions. We all begin there. Illusions are seductive because they promise safety. Illusions are powerful because everyone around us seems to believe in them. Illusions are comforting because they give us roles, scripts, expectations to follow. But life, in its mercy, will not let you stay asleep forever. Life will shake the walls. Life will crack the masks. Life will invite you, sometimes gently, sometimes violently, into the real. And that invitation, though it may feel like loss, is grace. So, if today you feel the discomfort of illusions falling away, know this. You are not losing yourself, you are finding yourself. You are not becoming less, you are becoming whole. You are not being abandoned, you are being aligned. And though others may resist your awakening, though they may miss the version of you that kept them comfortable, You must trust your own soul above all, because the call within you is holy. The hunger for truth is sacred, and the life waiting for you is far greater than any illusion you've left behind. When she finally stopped performing, she discovered peace. When she finally stopped chasing, she discovered presence. When she finally stopped pleasing, she discovered power. And when she finally stopped needing the world's approval, she discovered her own. That is the gift of a new vision. That is the power of seeing through illusions. That is the freedom of becoming who you really are. And so I leave you with this question once more. What illusions have you already overcome? And what illusions are you being called to release now? Let yourself sit with it. Let yourself answer honestly, because every illusion released is another layer of freedom. And freedom, my dear, is the soil where your soul blossoms. My dear, isn't it fascinating how, when a woman chooses truth over illusion, the world often misunderstands her? Suddenly, she is called cold, distant, arrogant. People whisper that she has changed, that she has become too much or too little, that she no longer plays the part they preferred. But the truth is so much softer, so much deeper. She is not becoming hard, she is becoming whole. She is not shutting out the world, she is tuning in to her own soul. Her silence is not arrogance, it is alignment. Her distance is not rejection, it is discernment. And her refusal to perform is not pride, it is presence. You see, she no longer has energy for the small games, the shallow scripts, the constant approval seeking. She is not here to bend herself into shapes that keep others comfortable. She is here to stand in her truth. And that will make some people uncomfortable. That will cause others to misunderstand. And that is all right. Let them misunderstand you. Let them project their stories onto your silence. Let them label what they cannot comprehend, because you are no longer living for their applause. You are no longer here to play small. You are here to live large in your soul. You are here to belong to yourself. So if they call you distant, bless them. If they say you are arrogant, release them. If they miss the version of you that once performed for their comfort, let them grieve her, because she is gone, and in her place stands a truer woman, a freer woman, a chosen woman. And you know this, my dear. The cost of being true is always worth more than the price of being liked. And now we come to the legacy, the part of the story that will outlast her days. Her life will not be remembered because it was easy. No one will look back and say, she never faced struggle. No, she will be remembered because she chose the path of fire, because she walked through endings without applause, because she loved herself when no one else understood, because she kept going when she was tired, lonely, misjudged, and in doing so, she became more than a story. She became a light. Think of it, my dear. When a woman chooses to stand in her truth without an audience, she becomes a beacon for others still hiding in the dark. When a woman chooses to love herself in silence, she teaches others how to do the same. When a woman chooses to walk forward without applause, she shows that courage is possible, that resilience is real, that transformation is worth it. Her life becomes a story, not of ease, but of endurance, not of performance, but of presence. not of perfection, but of power. And one day, others will whisper of her, not as the woman who fit in, but as the woman who blazed a trail. They will remember her not because she kept everyone happy, but because she walked in truth even when it cost her. They will honor her not for her compliance, but for her courage. And isn't that the legacy worth leaving? So let me leave you with this blessing. You walk alone, not because you are lost, but because you are carving a path. You are not abandoned, you are appointed. You are not broken, you are becoming. You are not diminished, you are rising. And through it all, life loves you, and so do I.